been in a crash before and they hadn't told us about it. What's up guys? Welcome back to Chase's Garage. I'm gonna go into the story of how I got this Challenger and kind of what I've done to it since I got it. So 2 years ago when I got my license, I'm 18 right now, so 2 years ago, me and my parents, we went out and we were looking for cars and we got our Nissan Altima. It's a 2010 2.5 liter and I had a lot of fun in this car. The Nissan had 220,000 miles on it and it did great. I love the Nissan a ton and a lot of memories were made in it throughout the years I had it, but eventually I felt that it was time that I upgraded. So I saved up a bit of money and my parents offered to help with the new car, so I started looking for different cars on the marketplace and at a few dealerships in town. The first cars that we looked at were more luxury cars and they weren't really what I was looking for. So we looked at an Audi TT, which I don't really like the looks of, but it was a very luxurious car. And we also looked at a couple BMWs at the same place and also a Mercedes. They were all very luxurious, very nice, but I was more into the sports cars, not the luxury cars. So the first sports car I got to test drive was a Scion FRS, and it was the only manual car that I test drove. It was definitely a cool car. I loved it a lot, but the exhaust was very, very loud, and it was very drony in the cabin, so it wasn't the car for me. So the next car I went to go see was a Camaro. It was a V6 Camaro, and it was a nice car, but it was very, very cramped. Those Camaros, the insides are very, very small. I was very into muscle cars, specifically the Challenger and Camaro, but the Camaro was just too small for me. We test drove one Challenger and we really, really loved it. So we worked on doing a pre-purchase inspection at my work and it had been in a crash before and they hadn't told us about it. The Challenger was a very cool car, but when we took it in for the pre-purchase inspection, it had some damage on the rear and you could see the floor through the trunk.
Shine towards the back more, baby. Oh, yeah, you can see it popping through that thing.
Yeah. The car was super nice. It was a 2018 Challenger, a V6, and they didn't tell us about those issues, so we decided that wasn't a trustworthy seller, so we went with someone else. This is when I realized that shopping for a car is more risky than you expect. If you're not pre-purchase inspecting every single car that you buy, you could be getting yourself into some very, very bad situations with a car that has way more issues than you expected. So the next car we looked at was this Challenger. It was cinnamon stick orange and I didn't love the color, but it's definitely grown on me since then and I really love the color. So we got the pre-purchase inspection done on this one. It had been in a crash, but they had told us about it, and whoever repaired it did an amazing job. You could not tell, and it was in the rear. You couldn't tell that anything was there. But this thing had been not kept up with maintenance-wise. So the oil changes, they weren't doing oil changes every 5,000. They were doing them every 10,000, which these cars need like 3 to 5,000. Especially when you're getting into the higher mileages like this one has. Along with the oil changes that haven't been done, the tires were bald. There was nothing left on them. And the brakes were a little bit low, but it was actually just the rotors, it wasn't the pads. Outside of those few things that they hadn't kept up on maintenance-wise, the car was very nice. They also told us it hadn't been smoked in. There was a very, very strong bubblegum smell when we were doing the pre-purchase inspection. We should have been suspicious of it looking back on it now, but we weren't. So we decided we were going to purchase it. They had it listed well above the Kelley Blue Book value, which I know Kelley Blue Book isn't always reliable for these sports cars, but it was quite a bit above. So we negotiated it and got it down to a price that we were comfortable with, and we set up a purchase. When we went to purchase this, we definitely noticed a smoky smell right after we purchased it, and we were kind of disappointed in that. We were told that it wasn't smoked in, and so we got screwed over on that a little bit. The only other thing the owners didn't tell us about was the scratches on the bottom. When the when the sun isn't shining on them, you can't tell, but there are a lot of scratches. It looks like someone took some sandpaper or something and scraped along it, and it just doesn't look very good. But as long as the sun isn't shining on it, it's no big deal. You can't really notice, so it's not a problem in my eyes. Outside of those things, I'm very, very happy with this car. I've had a great time with the car. I've had no issues, and everything with this car has gone perfectly. As soon as I got the car, I knew that I needed to do something to it. It was way too quiet. I loved the V8 crazy loud cars that you see all over social media. And I know it's just a V6, but I wanted to be like them. So I got a vibrant resonator and did a muffler delete and replaced my resonators with, those were vibrant resonators. And I do like the sound, but I wish it would sound more like a V8. So that's something that I did first thing when I got it. The other thing that I did is I tinted the side markers. The side markers were bright orange and yellow and red, and they just weren't what I wanted. I wanted the car to flow a little bit smoother. I also replaced the tires first thing when I got it, and I also did an oil change. And I've been keeping up on oil changes every 3,000 now, because we haven't seen any metal in the oil changes yet, but it's definitely a denser and darker color than we would hope. Other than that, there's nothing else with this car. I've loved having it, and I think it's a big upgrade from the Nissan. And the Nissan has now gone to my younger brother, and he loves it, and eventually, hopefully he'll get this car or his own sports car. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your support, and make sure to comment below the things that you guys want to see me do in the future. Thanks so much. Happy holidays.